10 years ago, you turned up at my first ever RTT training. What's it like to be an RTT therapist?
It's actually amazing. You know that you changed my life 24 years ago. Firstly, I thought, would I ever be able to be like Marisa? I get messages from old clients saying, you've changed my life. I'm still listening to my recording. This week, I got bunches of flowers back to back from people. I'm doing my dream job in my dream place, living my dream life.
Aren't we lucky? Give me a high five. So it's 2025. We're coming up to the 10-year anniversary of my first ever RTT class, which you were in.
Yes.
So 10 years ago, you turned up at my first ever RTT training.
Yes, that's right.
You've been an RTT therapist now for 10 years. It's my anniversary, and indeed it's yours.
Yes, absolutely.
I'd love to ask you a question.
Yes.
What's it like to be an RTT therapist?
It's actually amazing, Marisa. I am so grateful for the opportunity. I thought I'd never imagine how I'd be feeling 10 years on. I remember coming to the first ever event that you did, the first ever program. And I remember speaking to you because I was in corporate. I was meant to fly to Moscow and I was going to miss a few days. And it just so happened when I flew to Moscow, the meeting got cancelled. So I was able to get a flight to Berlin and then come to the first ever day. And I was only late by 30 minutes.
Yeah, that was meant to be.
Yes, exactly. And from the moment I did the program, I loved every single second, every minute of every hour of the program. You know that you changed my life 24 years ago. And that's really how it started, how I met you divine way. And I still can't remember how that was, whether it was the yellow pages or whether it was a referral, but how I came to you that 24 years ago and how you changed my life with just that one first session and how you reframed everything. And your kindness and your love and how you showed me so many things that anything is possible. And many people at that time in the, in the UK were not very can-do attitude. So your presence and your can-do attitude and your session was so transformative in that first time we had that meeting and that 24 years ago that changed my life. And then you showed me and took me to my first Tony Robbins event and that changed my life. And that the fact that basically there was all those times when I needed you, you were supporting me because we all need someone. You always say somebody needs to believe in you.
Yeah, of course.
You had your grandmother believe in you and you believed in me. And that really helped me so much. And that first session that when you decide to launch your program, I couldn't believe that, I was able to have the opportunity to do that. And obviously the fact that I was actually only late by 30 minutes on the first day to do that program and do the whole program, loved every second of it. And then coming back to saying that, how was it afterwards? How did it change my life? Well, firstly, I thought, would I ever be able to be like Marisa? I wasn't sure. Even when I did the training, we all loved every single second of it, as I said. But the fact is that even 3 weeks later, I was able to help someone transform them. And then now, 10 years on, I can't believe the amount of people I've helped and saved or transformed. And every day, even today, help a couple of people. And it's so transformative. It's changed my life. So I feel even more passionate, more happy, following my purpose, knowing that I'm so grateful to you because I wouldn't want to learn from anyone else. You're someone who believed in me. Plus, I did the program with you. And I cannot believe it's 10 years. It's just incredible how fast it's gone. And it's a testament to the training as well, that we've got roughly about 19,000 graduates now.
I know, isn't that amazing? And you're so correct when you say, if one person believes in you, okay, for me it was my grandmother. I came from quite a dysfunctional family. I had a grandmother who believed in me and saw something in me that I'd never seen in myself. She thought I was a genius, but because she saw something in me that I didn't see, I was always going to be okay. And then as a therapist, I knew that I had to be that one person. And in fact, you sent me a very traumatized young man.
Yes.
Before I even did that story, I'd love you to, and nobody believed in him. And in the session, I remember he said, no one believes in me. And I said, well, I believe in you. The person who paid for your session believes in you, and actually you're going to believe in you. So we've gone from no people to 3. So without making him obvious, tell me about that person that you inadvertently sent to me, that young boy who was really predicted to get into a lot of trouble because he was so unhappy.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is he was so unhappy. He had a very dysfunctional family. His mother wasn't loving him. She was clearly traumatized. And then his father as well wasn't there for him. So he felt really abandoned. His aunt was the one who really supported him. And I remember that he came to see you and he was very, very angry. And he didn't have a future. And again, the way you helped him and reframed him, now he is, you would never imagine this, but he's now in like a Michelin-star chef, like fine dining. He's like growing from strength to strength. He's won many awards.
He's got a beautiful girlfriend.
And he's got a beautiful girlfriend as well. And he's so happy, and he's moving to Dubai. And, it's really funny because he had a brother, his stepbrother, and his stepbrother never had that support.
Yeah.
And his stepbrother is still suffering, whereas he's transformed his life. And so just those things have been so phenomenal, and how simple the technique is and how you really help them. And again, from those 24 years ago, how my life has changed at so many levels.
And I only saw him once, but I understood that he had what I call the missing bit. He never heard the words. I was saying to him, darling, I'd love to give you a great dad, but I can give you the next best thing, what a great dad would say. And I made him say it and state it and affirm it. And he left that session a very different person, because one person believed in him. But by the end of the session, he believed in himself so profoundly. I could see his life was going to go in a very different direction. And I told him, you're going to find a great girlfriend, you're going to be a phenomenal chef. And it's all come true, because if you believe in someone enough, they start to believe in themselves. The opposite, when you don't believe in a child, they also don't believe in themselves. So children do a very interesting thing. They take ownership of a problem in order to make sense of it. So this young kid will think, my mum doesn't love me, my dad doesn't love me, therefore I'm not lovable. They take ownership to make sense. But when you can say, let's look at this again. Your dad was 17 when you were born, your mum was 17. You weren't gifted grown-up parents. In fact, you're more mature than your own father. You're smarter, you're better. And now he doesn't have to own that. He can just say, look, I didn't have very mature parents, but it's up to me now. My beginning wasn't very good, but I can't change that. I can change the trajectory of the rest of my life. And he's done it so well, because that's what we have to do as therapists, give people empowerment, freedom from the past and self-belief. And having that kid come in every week to talk about it, he was such an angry kid because he was a hurt kid. But when we could reframe everything and say, it's not where you've come from, it's where you're going. And I said to him, your crazy childhood is a bow, but you're an arrow. An arrow goes as far as a bow, an arrow goes straight and sleek and fast. And no one says, where's the bow? They go, where's the arrow? Oh, look, it's over there. And the bow is over there. And he left as an arrow. And he didn't need to go back.
And that's why I believe in the therapy so much as well, Marisa, because I've seen, given that I've done this for 10 years, and I have many case studies myself of people, children, adults, men, women I've worked with, who have tried other modalities in talk therapy, but it doesn't work. Yeah. It works to some level of awareness, to some level. Even then, it doesn't go deep enough. And the fact that we actually go at a subconscious level to really understand and then reframe is so powerful.
Well, great therapy is all about this. Find the pattern, make sense and understand the pattern, and change the pattern. So here we've got an angry kid who's predicted to end up possibly in jail. Let's find out what happened. What happened is he didn't feel loved, he didn't feel worth it, and he was angry. So we found that out. And then we must understand it and say, darling, actually, the way you're acting, you're just a hurt kid. You're not an angry kid, you're a hurt kid. Any kid would feel the way you feel and maybe act the way you act. So we're now understanding it without making him feel blame or shame or guilt. And then we're changing and saying, you're the kid any dad would be proud of. You're a great kid. The fact your father doesn't tell you that has nothing to do with the fact that it's true. You're an amazing kid and you're going to have a great life. So we found it, made sense of it, and changed it all in one session. Some therapy tries to find it and some try to change it, but you've got to do all three together. Find it, make sense of it. The word cure comes from the word curious. So when you say, well, I'm very curious why you're so, I'm curious what happened to you. I'm very curious about what happened to you and why you're so angry. And I'm going to look at it with fascination, curiosity. And so will you. Get curious about what happened. How could this sweet little baby end up with this angry, destructive kid? And then it all made sense. And what he was doing was showing me the story of his life. Yeah. And what I had the joy and the privilege of doing, and you too, is that we get to change the next chapters. Here comes a very angry adolescent young man who's so angry and so blocked and so stuck that he probably will end up in jail. So we can see the chapters, but we have the privilege of saying every chapter is going to be an amazing chapter. We're going to edit your life, rewrite your story, make it better. And with every client we see, we get to rewrite their story.
Absolutely. And that's so empowering.
Yeah, and make it into a masterpiece for him, which has already happened.
Exactly, because the thing is that I don't know if you remember if I mentioned this to you before, but the fact that when I was about 7, 8 years old, I remember something on a TV program, and it was talking about this woman who'd been violently raped in the graveyard of a church. And everyone's talking about this scenario, this situation, saying how her life is ruined. And I'm thinking, why does her life have to be ruined?
Yeah.
Why does it have to be that she has to carry this for the rest of her life?
Yeah.
Why can't it be just an episode of her life where she can change? The fact that what we do in RTT is reframe it and empower the individual, whatever they've gone through, is so powerful and gives them hope, gives them strength, gives them empowerment to move forward in their life and open a new chapter in their life.
I loved it when Giselle Pellicott said, shame must change sides. Those 4 words were so profound. Shame must change sides. Because that woman who was raped in the cemetery did nothing. She was still innocent. The person who did it to her must live for the rest of his life with what he did. But she didn't do anything. So we must all look at that and think, yeah, shame must change sides. It was done to me, not with me. Yeah. I didn't consent. I didn't participate. It was done to me. And the person who did it has to live with it forever. But I have a choice. Even after that, my choice is, I will not allow this one to take another bit of my life. You know, my stepfather could never sign checks. He never gave my mother a card in their entire marriage. And one day he took me to one side and said, you know, I can't write. My handwriting is disgusting. And I'm so embarrassed, and I've never written you. I don't even put tags on gifts at Christmas time to go under the tree. And when I was finding the pattern was a little boy in the 30s who went to school and wrote with his left hand, and the teachers would beat him with a stick. You know, the word left means sinister. In Spanish, turn left is sinistra. So the Bible said left is evil. So they beat him, they tied his left hand, they made him write with his right hand. And then they said to him, your handwriting is disgusting. So he had shame, blame, guilt. And he too understood, well, shame must now change sides. I was a kid who was gifted, I could write, they made me write with the other hand. And after the end of that session, he said, you know, they took a lot from me, so much, my innocence, my joy. But today I get to choose. Shall I let that continue, or shall I say, I don't care if my handwriting's illegible. I can sign stuff. I can write my wife gift tags on her gifts, even if there's a squiggle. I will not allow them to take any minutes. They took so much from me, but today it ends. So there's the choice. When someone says I was molested, I was beaten, I was abandoned, and I had no choice, but you do have a choice today to go, okay, I can't change that, but I can change how it impacts me from now on. And that's why I love shame must change sides. And I love, you know, the only revenge is to live a happy life. The best way to hurt someone who's hurt you is to live the best life you can. To say, if they were looking at me today, they go, wow, I didn't affect that person. If they look at you and you're still talking about it, they've got some power. If you go, no power. My success in not letting you affect them for another minute. And it is a choice, because it's never what happens to you. It's how you feel about what happens to you, the meaning you make of what happened to you, and the way you interpret it, which you can change. You can change the meaning, change the interpretation at any time, and then you begin freedom.
Absolutely.
And empowerment.
Exactly. And I came to you because I'd been bullied as a kid at school from the age of 6. And so I had low self-esteem, and in fact, I had an inferiority complex. I had to really change that. And the fact that one particular scene or few scenes that we had, that you changed it so quickly, I was dumbfounded. I think, how can I didn't think about that myself? And so that changed my life, and I felt empowered. And also the fact that you had a can-do attitude. Everyone else around me had such a negative attitude, or, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. But you always said, of course you can do this, of course you can. And that opened me up so much. And knowing that childhood trauma that I had, or the bullying, was just a past and never going to be my future. And ever since then, I've been able to move forward, and from strength to strength, so many things I've done in my life, you know, because of that belief system, and the fact that you did believe in me, and the fact that I was so fortunate enough, because my calling has always been to help others, but I never found the modality. And when you decided to launch your program, that was the only program I wanted to do, and has been doing it for 10 years now. Tell me some of your success stories, because people always say, oh, Marisa, this is what you do. But actually, RTT is not what I do. It's I collated all the best techniques that worked as a therapist, yes, and made a whole therapy module from it. My clients would say, you know, that thing you did, that thing you made me say, that thing you made me change my whole life.
So I collated all the things that made a difference and taught it as a technique so that you can do the same one thing. But for many clients, it wasn't always the same one thing. But I'd love to know a success story you had using RTT. So share it.
So Marisa, I've got so many I can share with you. Like one of the ones that sticks out again is this girl who was like living in Iran, and her family had a business, but she was so afraid because she was so traumatized by her angry father. She was talking to him on the phone, and she wanted to get onto the plane, and she was too scared to get onto the plane. And that's how fearful she was. So I did an RTT session online with her, and she got onto the plane, and we started doing some work here face to face. That was nearly 10 years ago. And now, since then, she's gone from strength to strength. She's running her family business. She's lost loads of weight. She takes care of herself. She feels strong and powerful. She's running teams, departments. She's running a business. And she's always thanking me. And she messaged me recently. She bum dialed me. She said, sorry, I didn't mean to bum dial you because I'm still listening to my recording that you sent me. And that's nearly 10
Isn't
years
that
on.
Amazing.
So I have many clients. I always get blessings of people that you changed my life. I get messages from old clients saying, you've changed my life. I'm still listening to my recording. Over the weekend, I got messages from 3 or 4 people saying, I miss you. You know, you're amazing. This week, I got bunches of flowers back to back from people on how it changed their lives. And so the stories are transformative, whether it's like businesses. I have many, many men who work with who had held back, choked their throat with crying and basically weren't allowed to show their emotions. One of the people was that a client of mine actually spent $30,000 on different therapies, and he still had anxiety. Very senior person and suffered from anxiety. He came to see me, and he resisted for 2 years to come and see me. His wife was begging him to come and see me, but he didn't. Eventually came to see me. That one session took him back to a cot with him being a baby in a cot, being left alone against facing the wall. And that was the key crux of the anxiety. And it was such a powerful session that he was so blown away. He just spent half an hour sitting, in the separate room, just getting his thoughts together. He said, couldn't believe it because it was so transformative. And he said, I can't believe that I spent $30,000 of all these different treatments. Of course, his company had been paying before. And he said that basically that this one session has been so transformative, it's changed my life.
Yeah, because people say, I don't know what's wrong with me. After I either go, oh, I do know. It's not what's wrong with you. I know what happened to me. I was ignored. I was left in my cot to cry. Nobody came. One of my clients, his mother used to go to work at 8 o'clock and come back at 6. And he was left in the cot all day. She couldn't afford childcare, so he had no food. And by the time she came back, of course, she would feed him, change him, hug him. But it left him with a feeling of, I'm not worthy of love, again, because a child tries to make sense of that. A child must idolize their parent because they're dependent on them. So when they're not there, they go, this is my fault. They don't love me enough. When a parent doesn't appear to love the child doesn't stop loving the parent. They immediately stop loving themselves. We can go back and say, well, look, this is because you were left in the cot all day. Your mother didn't come. Your parents didn't meet your prime core needs, which is to be safe, loved, connected, and significant. But today, although they didn't do their job, which is a great shame, it's not their job now, it's your job, and you can meet your need for significance, connection. You can meet all those needs, connected, loved, safe. And it changes everything, and it's so interesting to see how we do that. Do you remember when you had me come out I think it was 2011, to work at an infertility clinic here in Dubai? And there was a woman I met, and she said, she was an Emirati, I haven't given my husband a child, and my mother-in-law wants him to divorce me. And she got pregnant with triplets. And another one got pregnant with a son, and the next year had twin sons. So both of them said, wow, I've got 3 boys now. And it was how many women had babies, not just got pregnant, but had babies from that session we did in 2011.
And also, because you did that, Marisa, but the fact is that I wasn't sure if I could do that.
Yeah.
Now, I had a lady who basically had IVF, and the embryos didn't stick, and she had only 1 embryo left. And she felt that the pressure of getting pregnant, and she thought, this is the embryo, I have to make sure it sticks. And eventually we did the session, and the embryo stuck, and she had the baby. And then 5 years later, I met the little girl, that was so beautiful.
To think, wow, she's partly here because of me. I mean, obviously the mother made her, but you helped that little girl come into the world.
Another one of those is a lady who spent 4 years grieving a baby she lost. The baby had survived, but then because of the complications of lots of health issues with the baby passed away. And she spent 4 years grieving for the child. And we did the work to actually clear that and make peace with that. And then she was hoping to go and do adopt the child. And then she came to see me and she was pregnant. So while she was actually going for adoption, she found out she was pregnant and she had the baby.
Because while she was going for adoption, she was planning to have a baby. That happens a lot. While you're thinking, I'm having a baby, I need to get the room ready, I need to buy some diapers, I need to get some clothes. Oh, you're having a baby, and it makes the baby. So the amount of people who get pregnant during adoption or directly after IVF is extraordinary. And with IVF, clients come to me and say, it didn't work. I failed. What failed? Well, the embryo didn't attach. So you succeeded at egg collection. You actually succeeded at fertilization. When they put the embryo back, it didn't take. But if you can start to visualize the embryo sticking to your womb like Velcro, little fingers, rather like the roots of an orchid, burying into that womb and telling the baby to grow. I was told I would never be able to have a child. I could never conceive a child. I could never carry a child. And even if I did, it wouldn't be a healthy child. And yet I had a perfect, healthy baby. And that was the turning point to help people conceive, to believe I can carry this baby. And when I was pregnant, I was told sometimes you're losing the baby's not growing, the baby's not thriving. My baby was born at almost 8 pounds. She was perfect. She still is. But if I'd listened to all of those doctors, and what happened to me when I was being diagnosed, until there's a voice in my head said, don't let that in. When I had cancer, that same voice said, don't let that in. When I got run over and was told I might never walk properly again, a voice said, don't let that in. And it's very important to say, you're not going to tell me, I'm going to tell you. It's not for you to say you'll never have a baby, you've got cancer, it'll probably come back, you'll never walk properly again. It's for me to tell you, you watch me.
Yes.
So we give our clients what I call our show you. But I was told over and over again I couldn't have a child. And I did. And it made me realize how I could pass that on. And one of the nicest things as a therapist is to look at all the letters and cards you get of a baby that might not have been on the planet if you hadn't helped that person have them.
That's exactly it, Marisa. And it's just, I'm so passionate about what we do. And one of the other stories, 2 more stories I want to share with you. One is yours, one is mine. One of them is obviously when I was doing some work with yourself, there's a lady who was in the Facebook group who was disabled. She was in a wheelchair for 20 years. And what she did is play all your recording throughout the whole night, listen to your voice. And she got out of that wheelchair and then she came and trained in RTT. I don't know if you know that, but yeah. So that's one. And the other one is I had a client come to see me about 5 months ago. And he had this thing, he wanted me to help him win this motorcycle race. And I said, okay, you want me to help you? And he said, I think hypnosis is going to help me and I really want to be focused on winning this race. I said, okay. And he said, I haven't done that much practice, but I want to do it. I said, I'm happy to help you, but I'm sure there's something underlying that I think we need to sort out first, because what's the motivation behind that? Anyway, I followed through what he wanted me to do, but the session went back to his childhood, stuff that he had to clear out in terms of his trauma with his father, his relationship with his father, with his mother, all sorts of things. And at the end of the session, he was so taken aback. He was gobsmacked again he didn't expect what to come up, and we cleared it. And what was phenomenal about it, so he told me this recently, that when he went back home, his wife saw such a shift in him that eventually she signed him to RTT and become an RTT graduate, because she couldn't believe how transformative it was in that one session, because she saw the shift in him, even in that first session after when he came back from that session. And that she said, I want to do training in this. And so she's trained into RTT about a month ago.
Yeah, I have a similar woman who sent me her husband, who's a chronic alcoholic. He'd been in all these different programs. And in one session, he's never drunk since. And she said, I want to do what you do. And you've given me a different husband. But seeing what's happened to him in just one session, he's now, because again, the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifferent. He's indifferent. He's disinterested in alcohol. I can't quite believe it. Therefore, I want to train and do the same thing. I want to help other families who've got an alcoholic father, because I see what it did to my children. And now they've got a lovely dad and I've got a lovely husband. And for that reason, she came and trained with me. But later he also trained with me. Now they've got a clinic, the two of them, working with every addiction: smoking, drinking, gambling.
That's incredible.
Pain medication, even addiction to screen time. And it's a lovely thing that he got cured, she saw what happened. She trained and then he trained.
That's phenomenal. One last one before we finish is this child, 5-year-old autistic child. The mother brought him to me. She said that he was like not connecting with his little brother. He needs to be potty trained and things, and he wasn't sleeping in a separate room. And I said, let me see what I can do. In that first session, he basically loved what we did. That very night, he moved into his own room, and he enjoyed the recording so much that he'd wake his mother up in the middle of the night to play the recording again.
Yeah, I love that.
And then, because of that, she trained in RTT and RTC, by the way, and she's now running her own practice in Abu Dhabi.
You know, people think with autistic children there's nothing you can do. If they're verbal, there's a lot you can do, because autistic children feel so different. And it's the bane of your life to be different. You know, my father was my head teacher. I knew what that was like. I felt like a freak. I felt very different, but I'm glad, because I understood what it does to a kid when you're different. When you're different, it's very hard to connect. And so autistic children feel different. They can't have the same diet. If you say, darling, you might have a different brain, but you're the same as every kid in the world. It's a wonderful thing. I love being out here. This client came to me recently. I was in hospital in Abu Dhabi, and the doctor said, have you heard of that Marisa Peer? She said, no. He said, well, go and find her. I can't help you. She can. You don't have diseased organs. You have diseased thinking. Yes. And I love the fact that a hospital said, go and find that Marisa Peer, and she'll fix you. And she did, and I did.
Yes.
And then she fixed herself.
This week, in fact, a neurologist recommended me to a client, and I started working with him on Thursday morning.
Wonderful. You know, between 70 and 90% of our ailments are caused by diseased thinking. And we should be glad about that, because it's like, well, I can fix a diseased thought. A diseased organ needs a transplant or medication. A diseased thought just needs a massive reframe.
Exactly. So many people I've helped with IBS.
Yeah.
All emotional. Emotional.
Yeah, diseased thinking. I mean, the gut is a second brain. Of course it responds to your thoughts. The stomach is the seat of all emotions. But I'm so elated that you're one of us. I love the fact you've got the best job in the world. I mean, it's so lovely when you love what you do and you do what you love, because although we work very hard, we also feel like we never work a day in our life.
I don't, and I'm so blessed and I'm so grateful. I'm doing my dream job in my dream place, living my dream life, and I'm just so grateful. I used to hear you say that. Yeah, I thought I wasn't sure I'd get there. And of course, I put one foot forward every day. But now looking back, I can't believe it's been 10 years.
Well, I've been a therapist for 40 years, which sounds almost impossible. And I think, wow, I love it as much today as on day one. I love it. I do what I love. I love what I do. I don't think I'll ever retire. And there's very few jobs that you can go up to 40 years. I love it. I'm not retiring. There's almost no career that will give you meaning, connection, significance, certainly diversity, where you grow, contribute, make a difference, and have an impact. You know, we don't fear dying. We fear dying having not made an impact. And we have. I mean, I have it with every client. I have connection, significance, meaning, purpose, growing, transforming, making a difference to their life and mine. And impact, and that's why it's the best job in the world.
So thank you, Marisa, honestly.
And now we've got our Billion Lives initiative. We want more people to come and train and do what you do, because I think every fourth person now is suffering with chronic depression and anxiety. We've got so many young men trying to kill themselves.
Exactly.
And we have a faster cure. We call it rapid transformative, because it is rapid and it's very transformational. People don't want to say, hey, I'm in pain, I got to come and see you for 3 years, or I'm in pain, I've got to wait a year to find a therapist. But we say, hey, we can fix you in just a couple of sessions, and we're living proof that you can. It isn't what I do, it's what I teach. It's like a recipe. Someone said to me, you're the Jamie Oliver of therapy. It's right. I have a formula, I pass it on, and you too can be the Jamie Oliver of therapy.
Exactly. Thank you, Marisa. Honestly, it's a gift, it's a blessing, and I live my life with passion and purpose every day.
Me too, every day. Aren't we lucky? Give me a high five. I'm glad you're one of us, darling.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing this with everyone.
Well, you know, Wayne Dyer told me something that I never forgot. Don't die with your music still playing inside of you. When you came to my class in 2015, I'd just been diagnosed with cancer, and I just had the treatment. And I remember thinking that I'm not going to die with my music still playing. I've got a legacy, and I'm going to pass it on. I'm also going to be still here to pass it on.
Thank you for sharing, Marisa, honestly. You've helped so many people on so many levels, honestly.
Well, you know the thing, when you give, you receive. People say to me, you give so much, but that's not true. I give so much, and I get so much back. And don't you do the same? You give, but you find
so
that you get
blessings.
So much back. the best
Exactly.
job ever, because you give a lot, but you get back every day.
On so many levels, So
many
I live a
levels.
blessed life.
Me too. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you like this, please like and subscribe. You can help me and I can help. We all want to grow together. And in liking and subscribing, you'll get more notifications of more stuff to help you expand. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.